Picture a young high school trumpet player named Max, spelled M-A-C-K-S, for example. He practices every day, more than probably anybody else that he knows, but he always kind of underperforms when it comes to his auditions for all-county, all-state band. Since he practices so much, he makes the band, but he never gets the spot that he thinks he deserves. Enter mystery mentor figure who we'll just call Brick. Brick notices through watching Max play the trumpet that there is a laundry list of things that he could be doing much better in his practice. After a couple months of weekly instruction, Max ends up getting that principal spot in all-district band and even making the all-state band. So what are these mystery solutions Brick provided? Well, today we're going to go over some of those in these 5 skills every musician should have in 2025. The first skill is something that you don't really want to hear, and that's slow practice. Now, this isn't just turn your metronome really low and constantly hammer something until you can play it perfect and then dial down the metronome up and then do that again and again and again. I'm talking about thoughtful, beautiful playing on anything, whether it be technical, lyrical, that just doesn't quite lock in tone-wise on every single last note. Let's say you sound really mid on a phrase like this. Well, instead of just dialing the metronome back until I can play it correctly, why don't we try this? Yeah, that seemed like it took forever, but it should not be the fastest thing ever. When there's one note that doesn't sound right to me or even feel right, I go back and double check. Maybe I play the arpeggio backwards, or I play it forwards really slow, and I hold one note until I like how that note sounds. There's no right or wrong way to do this, just that you're doing it slow and you're making sure that every single last note, no matter what, has the most beautiful tone that you can produce. Believe it or not, this is the primary method of practicing that I used when I got into the national trumpet competition this year. I made it to the undergraduate solo division, which a year ago genuinely would have been impossible. But through some experimental tweaks to my playing and hammering this type of practice literally every single day, I managed to just barely squeak in, which for me, considering some of my past playing, is somewhat of a miracle. The next skill every musician needs to cultivate in 2025 is thoughtful lyrical phrasing. Here's an example of what I would consider relatively thoughtful lyrical playing. Now, here's slightly less thoughtful lyrical phrasing. Yes, the tone was still, okay, but there was definitely something missing, right? Well, for one, the second one almost felt like it was just slow for the sake of being slow. Whereas the first one, I was more considering how I would sing it. So step 1 is to not go too slow on this lyrical stuff. You have to consider how you would sing it first. The second version also just didn't have any dynamics in it. And if you see the music, there's not any dynamics written in, but they are heavily implied. On average, most phrases just do this. And there's also points where there's a peak of the phrase, which you'll notice it's extremely obvious in a lot of these lyrical pieces. You have to be sure to give special attention when something's saying, hey, this is really important. You gotta really go for that. And you'll notice the first time I played it, there's also this sort of ebb and flow I give it, where some things want to push and some things want to pull. And the best way that I can say to do this is after establishing your tempo, okay, that's about right. The entire time, I'm tapping with my big toe, whatever toe, I'm tapping the eighth note. This way, when I decide at the end of a phrase if I want to go, dee da dee da dum, da da dee da da dee da da dee da dum, I get this super smooth transition between tempos almost, that if you don't have the eighth note in mind, can seem really sudden and not make that much musical sense. Kind of seems all over the place, and while it's still kind of pretty, it just lacks that professional musicality. The next skill is actually the thing that I need by far the most out of this entire video, and that is constant listening. Try to listen to an interview with your favorite musician, or if you happen to know in person a musician who's really, really, really good, try and ask them this question. So how much music have you listened to? They will answer with this. Oh, listen to how much music? All of it. Yep. I mean, the best musicians in the world have listened to so much music, you would not believe it. I do some listening here and there, but it's honestly mostly the trumpet players. If you listen to these guys talk about how much music or what music they listen to all of it. Bach cello suites, they listen to music from different countries that you've never even considered. They listen to stuff that you might find really weird. They have spent countless hours just absorbing it all into their brain. And when you think about it, at least for me, it makes me feel really, really far behind because I don't have this endless catalog of understanding and just having that listening to be able to process music on the same level that they do. And this is why this is the number one thing that I need to work on. It's just listening to a ton of music, all genres. Jazz, classical, different types of classical, brass bands, orchestras from different countries, anything, just all of it. I can't give too much advice on this because this is what I struggle with, so good luck. The next skill every musician needs to have in 2025 is physical health. Is that a skill? Today, physical health is a skill. If you do not regularly spend some of your brain power at any level on how you can improve your physical health, not only can you not expect to play one of these instruments to the best of your ability, but you can also just not expect to enjoy life as much as you could. To make it simple, let's say that there's 3 aspects of your physical health. Let's say there's your nutrition, so what and when you eat, your exercise, and your sleep. Starting with nutrition, I don't know if you knew this, but what you put in your body is pretty much what you get out. If you have highly processed foods or straight up junk food in your regular day-to-day diet, you are doing yourself a serious disservice. If you're eating this basically garbage food, you are very negatively impacting your hormones. Not only will this directly impact your physical ability to play the trumpet, maybe you're not hydrated properly, maybe you've had too much sodium, too much sugar, whatever it is, but mentally, you're probably not even going to want to practice when you know you should be, and you're going to want to do something much easier like laying on the couch. So if all you eat is highly processed foods, please, 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 for your own good, find something in the morning like oatmeal with blueberries in it and peanut butter. Just because it's healthy doesn't mean it needs to taste awful. Maybe instead of donuts or cereal in the morning, you could have eggs and sausage or something like that. And I know some of you don't have any control over what you're eating throughout the day. So even just asking your parents, I'm sure it would work if you were just like, hey, do you think one of our meals throughout the week instead of this garbage that we're having, maybe we could have something more simple like chicken, rice, broccoli, crazy idea. Next is your sleep, which is something that I've struggled with so much due to genetic tendencies, as well as just being lazy, wanting to stay up late. Don't do it. When we lose an hour of sleep on daylight savings, the number of car accidents that day goes up dramatically. I hate to be the one to say it, but you need a bedtime. And I know you probably don't actually need one according to your parents or, whatever your situation is. You need one. It is so much better for your mental health, for your physical health. You just need a bedtime. You need to go to bed at the same time every day. You need to wake up at the same time every day. The two most simple possible things to have incredible influence on your ability to practice, which makes you better, on your ability to perform, etc. And finally, we have exercise, which is the one that comes the most naturally to me. I love to lift weights for some reason. If you can do some sort of resistance training 3 times a week even, that will have so much impact on your long-term health. Even if you're just in your room hitting push-ups one day, just straight push-ups, many sets of push-ups, is what it is. It's not bad. Next day, you find some way to do pull-ups, just cranking out pull-ups, or if you can't do pull-ups, you get to the top of the bar and you control it really slow on the way down, get back to the top, something like that. And then maybe the third day, you're just in your room doing lunges. I don't know. Ideally, of course, you can go to some sort of a gym and do proper weight training, but you got to do what you got to do, and doing something is legit 10 times better than doing nothing. If you're going to take it more seriously like me, we're looking at 6 days a week in the gym, cardio, all of those days as much as we can, because sometimes time doesn't allow for that. And if you happen to care about your ability to physically move throughout the day, stretch at night before you go to bed, especially your hip flexors. You will just feel so much better. I feel so much better in the morning, picking up my trumpet, just getting ready to practice, when my whole body doesn't hurt, when my back doesn't hurt, which can come from the hips, all sorts of things. Stretching at night, even if it's just for like 5-10 minutes, can make such a huge difference, especially if you want to march drum corps or you're doing marching band. You will have bad knees for the rest of your life. I can tell you right now, because I do, just because you didn't stretch before you went to bed. Just make it a habit. It's so worth it. So the final skill in this video is actually having a scientific mindset, aka just being willing to experiment. Now, this is the hardest one to discuss. It is also the one that has helped me the most, and also the one that has helped me the absolute least at times. What do I mean by experiment? I mean, I cannot play a high C with good tone. I need to experiment with different factors in my playing on how I can get there. This can lead to not being able to play anything. Like, I'm not even joking. If you start overthinking every single aspect, it's all out the door. So what we need to do is do this with a set of rules. I will always play with a singing approach mentally. Even if I'm messing with some random element of my playing, I'm just gonna be singing the whole time. Whatever the boundaries you set that are absolute truths in your playing, I must do this. You just gotta be really strict about keeping those on whenever you're doing this experimentation. During this process, I highly suggest only changing one factor at a time. So if I'm thinking, oh, maybe my tone is best when I bring it up to my face this way, whatever other stuff you're doing with your lips or your mouth shape or anything, do exactly the same thing. Just keep it the exact same. Change one little variable. Did you get better or worse? I got worse. Let's go back. Now we're gonna keep everything the same. Change another variable. Suddenly everything just got a little bit better. We're gonna keep that variable, and ideally you even write down. It helps when I relax this part, whatever it is. Now, the ironic thing about this experimentation, at least for me, is I heavily complicated things. I made things really weird. Maybe I bring it up with my lips like this before I play and I get the best tone. The solution, at the end of the day, ends up being the absolute simplest and the easiest. Now, me telling you that is not gonna just magically get you whatever solution for whatever problem that you're having. It's not gonna magically give it to you. You need to put the work in literally every day, writing things down, taking a video of yourself, telling your future self, hey, if you're having this problem, this is how I fixed it today. Is it cringe? Yes, but it genuinely helped me so much when I was just experimenting with all sorts of things during the summer. Which you have to know when to do this experimentation. If you're in the middle of some sort of assessment week, whatever it is, you have an audition for this coming up. Limit the experimentation. I say this even though I've done it on those very days where I have a performance. It kind of worked for me because things changed throughout the days, but you have to be really confident that you know how to figure that out on the day and you know that you'll be able to do it there. I don't recommend it. And so for the scientific mindset part, my biggest advice would be to keep your North Star as the solution is probably something physically, mentally, really easy and relaxed. If this video helped you, hit the like button. It helps so much. If you have any questions, ask in the comments below. I'm sure there was a few gaps in my explanation throughout this video. You guys have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.